Okay, we go from that. Let's talk about USC. The defections just continue. This is absolutely stunning. Miller Moss, the quarterback who was a starter in the Holiday Bowl, then for most of this past season, just signed at Louisville. Bear Alexander, their star defensive tackle, out. Gone to Penn State. He's transferred. They've just lost their running back who's supposed to be their star next year, Quinton Joyner. He's transferred out, sent his mail to Ohio State. USC is just an absolute mess from a player personnel standpoint. San Diego State. I'm sorry, John and I totally disagree. The Aztecs lose their starting quarterback, Danny O'Neill, who came here to be the cornerstone of all things that Sean Lewis was going to bring. Danny O'Neill just signed this morning at the University of Wisconsin. We reported on it on Friday. Good kid, played really well, didn't turn the football over for an 18-year-old. I thought showed tremendous composure and a flair of athleticism, but the team around him was not very good. But I got a real problem because he came here because of Sean Lewis. He came here and Lewis developed him into a really quality freshman quarterback. I thought the sky's the limit, and he jumps ship and he bails. And it's a bad sign because Sean Lewis is losing a whole bunch of kids that he brought here. They're in the transfer portal after having 42 kids that he inherited leave before spring ball even started that were part of the Brady Hoke regime. They transported out. So now he's hauling more players back in the transfer portal, which means year two is going to be as big a teaching project. And he doesn't have a quarterback yet. And marquee quarterbacks are coming off the board. And the thing that bothers me is he's getting guys from smaller programs. He's got one true Division I transfer coming in, an offensive tackle, offensive guard from Michigan State. Everybody else he's getting is a lower level Division I AA player so far. They're having a tough time getting marquee type players that are going to change your program. If you got a transfer, a bounce back from USC or UCLA or the University of Washington, I'd say that's how you build a foundation. But he's starting almost from ground zero again for the second year in a row. And I'm disappointed in O'Neill because they invested a lot in this kid and they named him the starter. He earned the job. He kept the job. I thought he played well in adversity. I think he should have stayed. And now he's gone to Wisconsin. So I have a real problem with that. Utah dives into the Mountain West Conference. Utah this morning just signed Devin Dampier, record-setting quarterback, New Mexico. He's gone to play for Kyle Whittingham in Utah, whose team was wiped out. He had 5 different quarterbacks he had to play because of injuries. I would have thought Dampier would have gone to Utah State with the head coach who had just been there 1 year and had left, Bronco Mendenhall. But instead, he's going to the University of Utah. Fresno State. We talk about players defecting all the time. This is bad. They lost their star quarterback, Mikey Keene. He's in the transfer portal. They just went through another coaching change there. He had been a protege of Jeff Tedford. Tedford, of course, forced into retirement just before the season started because of a heart disorder. Mikey Keene was a starter for 2.5 years. He's gone. He's in the transfer portal. Washington State, they're holding their breath. Their star quarterback, Johnny Mateer, who's supposed to come with the Cougars to play in the Holiday Bowl, at this point is not sure what he's going to do. A lot of money on the table. Washington State's gone the extra mile to try to get more NIL money for Johnny Mateer. He's the do-everything, throw-run RPO quarterback. He may go into the transfer portal before the end of the week. And how bad is the transfer portal? 1,800 players in the first 4 days when the transfer portal opened last Monday jumped into the portal. Marshall University, their coach left, Charles Moss, go to Southern Miss. 25 top players jumped into the portal right after he resigned. And the problem you've got, they have not enough players to practice. They don't have enough players for their bowl game. Marshall has pulled out of the Independence Bowl against Army. They're not going to play because they've lost so many players. I don't understand from a calendar standpoint why the NCAA allows the transfer portal to kick in December. Shouldn't you wait till right after the championship game is played in January
Yeah.
and then have a January into February transfer portal? Because this is absurd. You got players that say, I'm not playing, I might get hurt my NFL chances, or I'm not playing, I'm going to the transfer portal. So I blame the NCAA for the calendar as to where this portal is slotted. The coaches are totally up in arms. Lane Kiffin melted down at Ole Miss on the weekend, saying this is an absolute disgrace that this is allowed to happen while we're preparing to go play in the playoffs or go play in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's star sophomore backup quarterback opted out. He's not going to play in the playoffs. He's in the transfer portal. Why do you have to do this the first week of December? Let it go till January. This thing is so screwed up. So, John, those are hot headlines. You want to talk about SC? I know you're going to argue with me about Danny O'Neill being a bleeping capitalist that you are, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the capitalist Danny O'Neill. No, so he so a lot of angles to this. Number one, I always thought of O'Neill and Sean Lewis as sort of a package deal.
Yes.
But clearly they're not. And now there was a rumor that I saw online that Lewis asked O'Neill to redshirt and kind of build up strength. And this was a reaction to that he was like, screw that, I want to play. I mean, is that true?
I don't know if that's true. Sean Lewis had never answered that question, I'm sure, if you posed it. And if somebody theorized it, no. I find that hard to believe because the kid played 12 games. The kid grew immensely as a talent. Mm-hmm. The kid showed a lot of dimensions that we didn't know how he'd handle as an 18-year-old in terms of grit, in terms of toughness, in terms of playing through injuries, in terms of consuming a playbook. I mean, they didn't go 3-9 because of Danny O'Neill. They went 3-9 because everything that didn't happen around Danny O'Neill offensively, and then the whole defense caved in the second half of the season because they had to play so many minutes. I just think that, he told everybody that, well, I want to be closer to home. Well, you knew coming to San Diego State was a fair ways away from Indianapolis. I understand that. Well, I don't have anybody I'm talking to yet. Yeah, the hell you don't, because he did this on Thursday, and on Friday we talked about it. He was going to Wisconsin to at least visit, and now he signs at Wisconsin just like that. This was all about money, and this is all about getting tampered with. I just think the kid quarterback owed the coach another year because that coach did so much on behalf of that kid to try to build him as a foundation around the program.
Yeah, but the scholarship is only a year by year thing. So he doesn't owe. I mean, maybe morally, maybe you can make a case for that, but legally and, as far as their contracts are considered for scholarships, he doesn't owe them anything. So the fact that if you got an opportunity to go to the Big Ten, Wisconsin, I mean, why would you turn that down coming out of the Mountain West? I mean, I can't blame O'Neill for pursuing it. I would have liked for him to stay. But in the end, I kind of wonder, I mean, he's good, but he's not great. So I don't know how he's going to do in the Big Ten. He's not a terribly big quarterback. No. So we'll see what happens. But the Aztecs, they got Kyle Crum and who else?
Well, they've got to go get guys. I mean, they have the freshman from Long Beach, Milligan, whom they like, but that's an 18-year-old kid, much like Danny O'Neill was. So poor Sean Lewis. For every step he's tried to take forward, he's had all these steps backwards. Now he's losing not only the Brady Hoke group of players that he inherited who didn't want to stay, now he's lost his quarterback and a couple of other guys that he recruited. His own people are vacating. It's
But he's not alone. I mean, every college coach is going through this thing. The other quick comment on the Marshall situation, I agree with you. The timing of the
transfer
portal window is wrong. I mean, imagine if like the Dodgers going into the World Series, Teoscar Hernandez declared free agency and wasn't going to play in the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing. That doesn't make any sense.
And nobody goes to spring football January 15th. So put the transfer portal window, open it right after the national championship game, and have your 20-day window there till February 1st.
Yeah.
Because guys are not in spring football in February. I mean, that usually rolls into March. I just, this thing is so upside down. This thing is, it's so chaotic.
Yeah. I mean, I conceptually, I like the idea that these players can move on to greener pastures. They're not locked in, but they do need to manage the system better.
Okay. All things college football. Who would you have voted for if you had my Heisman ballot? And agree or disagree with me on the San Diego State Danny O'Neill thing. I hope it works out for the kid. I feel bad for Sean Lewis. Quarterback owed that coach another year here in the system after the coach did everything he could to help fast forward that kid's development. Fans forum chat box is open.